You are exactly where you needed to be right now. I fucking hate this quote. What does it mean that I am exactly where I needed to be? I have all the expectations that by this age, I should have this, I should have that. I should become this person, I should become that person. I should have everything I ever wanted and be able to enjoy my life by this time. But I know it's very hard to accept life as it is. Because if you are in the dark times and in the suffering season right now, it's hard to accept it. Like I always say, it's easy to accept good emotions, but it's really difficult to accept the negative emotions, tough emotions. And when we have all the expectation that, hey, life should turn out this way, life should turn out that way. This is supposed to happen. This should turn out that way. And when it turned out different than what we expected, we get disappointed. And what I realized that disappointment does nothing good besides discouraging us from taking action. And no action means nothing changes. And when nothing changes, that also means that we stay the same. And eventually, we will end up giving up. It's like you go on a date with someone, she shows all the signs of interest, and you thought to yourself that, hey, I will see her again. And then turned out to be that you will never hear from her again. I know it's really hard to accept that because the obvious scenario is that she showed interest in you and you will see her again. You expected to see her again. That's normal expectation. But when life turns out to be a 180 degree from what you expected, you get disappointed. And I totally understand that disappointment. Everyone would get disappointed in this case. But the thing is, life happens the way it wants to happen, not to the way that you think it should happen. Let me say it again. Life happens as the way it wants to happen, not what you think it should happen. That's the tricky thing. If it happens to the way that you think it should happen, fine, it's easy to accept it because that's when it's happened to the way that you expected. But how do you handle, how do you deal with when it goes against what you expected? And that's, my friend, that's when we need to learn to detach from that expectation and accept that this happens exactly as it's meant to be. Even when it doesn't make any sense. Even when it seems really confusing. But we have to learn to accept it. The same thing at your job. You have done so many great things. You completed so many great projects. And you expected to get a promoted or a significant increase in salary. But it turned out that you didn't get any promoted. Or maybe even not get any increase in salary. And you get disappointed. And I know it's very hard in the moment to accept it. We obviously don't really understand why life happened this way. But it happens, and it happens more often than we want to believe. So how can we eliminate or minimize disappointment? The only way and the best way is to let go of your expectation, especially with any obvious scenarios like example that I mentioned above. Because the reality is we can't really control what actually happens to you or for you. We can't really control that. And the more we try to control things, the more we get disappointed and stressed. The only thing that we can control is how our attitude towards that event in our life. How we react to that event in our life. Because when we learn to let go and accept life as it is, not better or worse than it is, not what you think it should be, we will then experience peacefulness inside of us. Once we learn to let go and accept life, we will experience peaceful and grateful feelings. Learn to remove quote-unquote should. We have so many expectations that, oh, this should happen this way, this should happen that way. I should be at that point in my life. I should have that girlfriend. I should have that house. I should have that job. I should have that career. I should have that house. I should have that health. I should have that group of friends. Whatever that your expectation is, remove it and accept that you are exactly where you needed to be. And I know it's not easy to accept that. So that's why it takes a conscious effort to learn to accept and have peace with it. Trust and have faith that it will work out in your favor in the end, even if it seems very confusing right now. Who is to say that the way we think it should turn out will eventually be good for you, right? We simply don't know. Who to say that if that girl that you went on a date with and said yes to you a second time will turn out to be a great person in your life? We simply don't know. Who to say that if you get that promotion, it will turn out good for your future career? It will turn out good for your future relationship? We simply don't know. The reason we need to learn to accept it because it gives us peace and less stress. Accept whatever feeling that you are experiencing. Sad, sorrow, disappointed, anger, frustrated, upset, happy, joy, cheerful, peaceful, whatever that is, accept whatever feelings that you are experiencing. You don't need to resist it. You don't even need to remove it. Just accept it. Because when you accept it, you agree to have peace with it. And once you have peace with it, it no longer bothers you. And it will eventually goes away. Accept that you are not where you want to be. I know it's not easy to accept this, but accept it anyway. Because the sooner you do, the better and peaceful you will feel. Accept that you may have to suffer this season right now. And I know it can be difficult because if you look at to the left and you look at to the right, you see the people that have everything that you ever wanted. You see that everyone seems like they are happy with their life. And I know it's hard to accept it, and you look at yourself and you reflect on yourself and you see that, am I the only one that's suffering right now? This is not fair. Even if it seems like it's not fair, accept it anyway. I don't know why life happened this way, but it happens for a reason, and you don't know that particular reason until you look back from the future. But in the moment, let it confuse you. And you just need to accept it and go with it and be grateful for it. Accept that most things you try may not work out. I know it's tough. It's hard to accept it. But you literally don't have any other option, do you? The only option you really have is to accept it and continue to try, continue to take action. Everything happens exactly the way it should be, not the way you think it should be. I fucking hate this. I fucking hate it every time I read this quote, especially when I am in a suffering season, when I am in a dark times, when I go through challenges. I hate it every time. But what I realize that no matter how much I hate it, it won't get any better except making me even more upset and frustrated. But I know for the fact that once I learn to accept it and learn to have peace with it, it feels so much easier and peaceful within myself. And it even gives me more hope. Hope that things will get better. Hope that everything that I am experiencing right now happens for greater good later. So learn to accept it, even if it doesn't make any sense or it seems very confusing right now. Because one day, your time will come. But until then, accept life as it is. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I just want to say thank you for choosing my podcast. Appreciate your review, and until next time, never stop believing yourself.